Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission really is to take a whole stack of sources you give us, pull out the absolute key insights, and we'll cut through the noise for you.
Get you right to the core of what matters. And today, we're focusing on one specific source you shared. It's an excerpt, chapter 4, talking about something called the third agreement.
Right, the third agreement. And it sounds so simple when you just say it. Don't make assumptions.
Deceptively simple, maybe? Because the source argues it's actually incredibly powerful, but also, really challenging to live by.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it. So our goal today is to really unpack that. Why is this simple phrase presented as like a major source of human suffering and conflict?
Exactly. We want to get beyond just what it is and understand why the text frames it as so essential for, well, personal freedom and clear relationships.
Okay, let's dive in. The core problem first. What's actually wrong with making assumptions, according to this source?
Well, the source is pretty blunt. It says we just tend to make assumptions about basically everything. But the kicker is we don't just make them, we believe them instantly. Like they're solid truth.
We treat them as reality.
Precisely, even if they're just stories we cooked up in our own heads.
And the source describes a kind of negative chain reaction that starts there, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like dominoes falling. You make the assumption.
Believe it's real.
Right. Then, because you believe it, you take whatever's happening really personally. And when you take it personally, the next step is often blaming someone else. And that blame, the source calls it emotional poison.
Emotional poison, wow.
Yeah, and it specifically calls out gossiping as like the main way this poison gets spread around.
So it's not just a small personal thing. The source connects this to much bigger issues.
It makes a huge claim. It basically says that all the sadness, all the drama we experience, this constant sort of war of control between humans, it calls it, and even this state it calls the dream of hell. It's all rooted, fundamentally, in making assumptions and taking things personally.
So making assumptions literally sets us up for pain and suffering.
That's the argument. We misunderstand, we feel attacked based on our own internal fiction, and we end up creating a whole big drama for nothing. It's self-inflicted, really.
Okay, that's a strong case against assumptions. But why do we do it then? If it's so bad, why is it such a default mode for us?
That's a great question. And the text gets into the motivation. It suggests a really deep human need to explain everything, to justify, to understand. It makes us feel safer,
Right, even if the explanation is totally wrong, we just need an explanation.
Exactly. Any narrative feels better than uncertainty. So when we don't fully get something or someone doesn't tell us the whole story,
We just fill in the blanks ourselves.
we fill them in with assumptions. And the source says this actually replaces the need to communicate. Why ask if you think you already know?
And this becomes automatic, right? Like learned behavior. The text talks about agreements to communicate this way.
Yeah, it's like we're conditioned. We learn these patterns, these sort of unspoken rules, like maybe believing it's not safe to ask questions.
Or that classic one in relationships.
Oh, yeah. If they really love me, they'd just know what I want or how I feel. No need to actually say it.
And the source points out how fiercely we defend these assumptions once we've made them.
Absolutely. We dig our heels in, sometimes even wrecking relationships over it, because deep down, we're convinced we are right, that our assumption is the truth.
Okay, this is fascinating. The source then identifies what it calls the biggest assumption we humans make. What is that?
This is a big one. It's the assumption that everyone else sees life, thinks, feels, and judges exactly the same way we do.
Wow. So projecting our entire inner world onto everyone else.
Pretty much, we assume their reality mirrors ours.
And the consequence of that specific assumption.
It breeds fear, according to the source. A fear of just being ourselves around other people. Because if we assume they judge and blame, just like we judge and blame ourselves, well, we expect them to do it to us. We anticipate rejection, criticism, maybe even abuse.
And there's a really striking line about how that impacts us internally.
Yeah, it's powerful. It says, so even before others have a chance to reject us, we have already rejected ourselves.
Oof. That hits home.
That internal conflict starts right there, fueled by projecting our own stuff onto others.
The source also mentions making assumptions about ourselves, too, not just others.
Right, like assuming, oh, I can definitely handle this, and then falling flat, or the opposite, I can never do that, not even trying.
So we overestimate or underestimate based on assumptions, not facts.
Exactly. Because maybe we haven't really asked ourselves the tough questions or really looked at our own capabilities or even what we truly want. The text even says we sometimes lie to ourselves about our desires.
This seems particularly damaging in relationships. That common assumption you mentioned earlier, my partner should just know.
It's presented as a classic trap. You expect them to read your mind, they inevitably don't meet the unspoken expectation, and then you feel hurt. The thought is, you should have known. The source uses a marriage example. One partner assumes the other shares their exact vision of marriage. When their behaviors don't match that secret blueprint, conflict, drama, all because of the assumption that they know me so well.
It really highlights the absurdity when you lay it out like that. The source also talks about how we can, selectively see what we want to see in someone.
Yeah, justifying why we like someone, maybe ignoring red flags or things we dislike, basically making the reality fit our initial assumption about the person or the relationship. Lying to ourselves, really.
And then there's that really dangerous one. My love will change this person.
Oh, that's a big one the source tackles head on. It says, essentially forget it. Love doesn't change people. Change has to come from within them. So if you operate on that I can change them assumption and inevitably get hurt because they don't change, well, the source says you then feel justified in your pain and blame them when really it was your assumption that set you up.
So what's the alternative? What does the source describe as real love in this context?
Real love, according to this text, is about full acceptance. Accepting others exactly as they are right now without trying to fix or change them.
That sounds freeing, but also hard.
It is, and the advice is pretty direct. Find someone you don't feel the need to change. Someone who loves you as you are and vice versa.
It leads to that very clear communication example the source gives.
Right, that almost blunt clarity. If you love me the way I am, okay, great, take me. If you don't, okay, bye-bye. Find someone else.
No room for assumptions there.
None. And the source argues this kind of clear, direct communication leads to what it calls impeccable personal agreements. Clean, clear, no hidden clauses based on assumptions.
Okay, so making assumptions, bad. Lots of drama, pain, misunderstanding. What's the fix? What's the solution the source offers?
It boils down to something simple to say, maybe harder to do. Ask questions.
Just ask.
Just ask. Instead of filling in the blanks yourself, make the communication clear. If you don't understand, if you're unsure, ask.
But that takes courage, right? The source mentions courage.
Definitely. Courage to admit you don't know. Courage to potentially hear an answer you don't like. Courage to keep asking until things are as clear as they can possibly be. But the source adds a little caution. Even after asking, don't assume you now know everything. Stay open.
But asking is the key to avoiding the assumption trap in the first place.
Exactly, because once you hear the answer, the real answer, you don't need to assume anymore. As the text puts it, you will know the truth. Maybe not the truth you hoped for, but the actual truth.
And tied into asking questions is also finding your voice to say what you want, right?
Yes. Ask for what you want or need. The source reminds us everyone has the right to say yes or no, including you. You have the right to ask, they have the right to respond, and vice versa.
Being clear is always better than assuming. So what happens when you actually start doing this? When you commit to stopping the assumptions?
The source describes a pretty major transformation. It says, the day you stop making assumptions, your communication becomes cleanly and clearly free of emotional poison.
Free of emotional poison. That sounds good.
Doesn't it? Imagine conversations without that undercurrent of drama and blame.
And how does that affect your words, your interactions?
Your word becomes impeccable, is the phrase used, meaning you say what you mean what you say, and you understand others without layering your own assumptions on top.
So the impact on relationships must be huge.
Profound, according to the text. All relationships change: partner, family, friends, colleagues. Why? Because suddenly everything becomes so clear.
Never mind reading games.
Exactly. It's just, this is what I want, this is what you want. Direct, clear.
The source even suggests a much, much bigger potential impact if everyone did this.
It really does. It paints this almost utopian picture, claiming that if all humans communicated this clearly, without assumptions, well, there'd be no wars, no violence, no misunderstandings.
Wow.
Yeah, it suggests all human problems would be resolved. That's how fundamental the source sees this agreement.
That's a massive claim stemming from don't make assumptions. But the source also keeps it real, right? It admits this isn't easy.
Oh, absolutely. It stresses that understanding the agreement is the easy part. Saying it, nodding along, simple.
But actually doing it.
That's the hard part, because the habit of assuming is so deeply ingrained. It's part of our conditioning, our domestication, as the text calls it.
So knowing isn't enough.
Knowing is just merely the seed. The source is emphatic. Action is what makes the real difference. Consistent practice.
And what does that practice, that repeated action of asking questions, seeking clarity, actually build?
It strengthens your will, the source says. Taking action over and over again nurtures this new habit, this new agreement, until it establishes a solid foundation.
And eventually, after enough repetition.
It leads to transformation. These new ways of interacting become second nature. And through using your word impeccably, clearly, honestly, without assumptions or poison, you transform.
But transform how?
The source uses this metaphor. You go from being a black magician, using words to create negativity and poison, to a white magician, using your word to create, to give, to share, to love.
That's quite a shift. And this connects back to the bigger picture, the ultimate goal mentioned in the source's philosophy.
Yes, it's all part of transforming your whole dream, your entire experience of reality. When you live by these agreements, like not making assumptions, the source suggests that, well, magic just happens in your life.
Magic.
Meaning, what you need starts to come to you more easily. Not through luck, but because, as it puts it, spirit moves freely through you when you're clear and impeccable.
And this whole path, this practice, has a name in the text.
It's called the mastery of intent, the mastery of the spirit, the mastery of love, the mastery of gratitude, and the mastery of life.
There's a lot of mastery.
It is. And it's presented as the ultimate goal of the Toltec tradition this source comes from, and the direct path to personal freedom.
Which brings us right back around to what you said at the start, how this agreement was positioned as essential for freedom.
Exactly. The suffering that comes from assumptions is a kind of prison. The clarity that comes from asking questions, from clear communication, is the key to unlock it.
So, wrapping this up, our deep dive into this source on the third agreement, don't make assumptions, shows it's presented as way more than just polite advice.
Yeah, it's framed as a core practice. And not doing it is seen as a fundamental root cause of so much conflict, drama, and just general unhappiness in our lives.
And the way out, according to this text, involves cultivating courage. The courage to ask, to seek clarity, instead of just defaulting to our own internal stories.
It's definitely presented as a challenge. It requires conscious, consistent effort to break those old ingrained habits of assuming.
But the potential payoff described is huge. Not just better conversations, but a fundamental shift in our relationships, our inner state, leading towards, well, clarity and personal freedom.
Mm-hmm. And the source really leaves us with something to chew on, doesn't it? A final thought for you, the listener. If so much of our personal drama and pain really does come from believing our assumptions are the absolute truth, what parts of your own life, your own reality right now, might actually just be a story you've constructed, a story you've never actually checked against the facts by, well, asking the questions.